Hello, Howard. How are you?
Good morning, Sai. Good morning.
Good morning, my friend. It's great to see you.
Thank
So,
you.
a pleasure all around. We're definitely have an opportunity to catch up with Howard today in anticipation of the May 13th event, of course, around rethinking women's leadership in business with the Women Business Collaborative and, by all means, Andy Simon. So, to that, welcome, Howard, my good friend.
Thank you.
How are you, dear friend?
Very good. And it's an excellent topic. And, you know, I think I'll have a lot to contribute in the short time we
Wonderful.
have this morning.
Wonderful, my friend. Please share who is Howard and let the world hear your
Well,
voice.
thank you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Howard Schornstein. I've been in business now for over 40 years, from various stages of software industry, primarily different industries. My background is I do have a MBA in Management Information Systems, and I have a law degree, member of New Jersey Bar. And I like to explain that I've come approach problems that I see every day from a business, legal, and technical perspective. And I think I this opportunity to discuss women's leadership is a good avenue to have all three of those areas be discussed. And I'm been fortunate to have worked for not only large companies, but I have also helped women-owned businesses start from ground up two businesses, a medical practice. One was a cardiology practice. The other was a diagnostic heart center. They started from ground zero, became multi-million dollar enterprises, and were merged into a larger health information network that they're currently as part of today.
Excellent. So you've definitely gotten an opportunity to see a multitude of journeys, Howard, of businesses and respectfully women leader, male leaders, just a whole spectrum of experience.
Yes, yes, and I've been lucky to work with not only men and women who are excellent mentors. When we rethink women's leadership in business, um, and I think of two things. I think of role models, inspiring women who become role models. I approach that from a business perspective. How they approach business and how they help improve it. I look at my view at this point. I look at five women that have been significant role models. One was a woman at AT&T that I work with, ended up becoming a senior vice president at Kaiser Permanente in California. And she was very good at empowering men and women in the IT industry. Another woman is the woman who built these two medical practices from zero, from no patients to over 4 or 5 thousand patients in the practice. Another woman is an attorney who I met in law school. Interestingly enough, was expecting a baby in law school in the middle of all that, and her daughter just became engaged. So I remembered meeting her for the first time as a young infant, and now woman's thankfully engaged. And her mother is so engaged in the women in law leadership perspective. I'm very impressed every time I see something that is done by this woman and the firm and what she's been doing. And one is a clergy woman, a rabbi that I know who actually started out in business. She went to Wharton, got an MBA from Wharton in marketing. Found she was always driven back to religion, and she went to Stanford and got a PhD. And also very educated women, that I've just mentioned across the in IT, medical, legal, religion. But all these are women who are again all role models.
Excellent, excellent. And Howard, what are the kind of characteristics that stand out in the experiences that you've had with these incredible people?
Yeah, I always see the same type of characteristics across all these women. They're confident, they're problem solvers, they're very action oriented. They mentor well, they listen well, they're resilient, and they're courageous. They're different lifestyles, different professions, and they all seem to be able to keep their work life balance in check. I think that's an important aspect of these women, all being able to not only be business leaders, but be family, have family as well.
Howard, I love the emphasis on balance because that we all struggle with that, right? We all struggle with that, and I love that you've called it out. And I know I've had conversations with other guests, if you will, in the same vein of finding that balance. You know, well, the question that comes to my mind, Howard, is as you mentioned those characteristics, if you will, apply both to both genders, males and females. They apply to teams, for that matter, and organizations. Can you help us dig deeper as to why was the experience and why did these people have such an impact on your experience with them?
These were individuals who, um, I think, all started out at, at 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 low levels in their organizations. Junior programmer, a medical resident, an intern, a junior lawyer, and a woman who again did a career change into clergy. They did not have the when they started out, I think, visions of where they would end up. And I think, when I look back on the organizations that I've worked with these women, they, using their skills that I talked about earlier, were able to use the organizations through mentoring and through other aspects of the organization to challenge themselves. When I was at AT&T, there's a woman, Gail McGovern, who actually is the head of the Red Cross in the United States today. And she started as a junior programmer at AT&T. And I remember her coming to talk to a group of several thousand AT&T employees in a huge auditorium. And it always struck me, it still strikes me today, that she said the reason she was able to rise so high in her path to executive management was the fact that she moved around in the company. She had various um, opportunities to try different things, not be pigeonholed. And I think all the women, at least the ones that I know, and others, of course, they have to step out of what is sometimes a stereotypical role that they started out with, and all grow into those professions and their leadership. Again, the woman who started out as a physician, they don't teach you in medical school how to be an entrepreneur. They don't teach you how to run a business, how to do payroll, how to do insurance, how to do all the things that come with running a business, how to even discuss about a merger and acquisition. Those are things that they use outside help. They go to legal, accounting, um, people who have sometimes those areas of expertise that can help guide them. But I think in every case, the women that I've met have learned from the people who can support them, and they've reached out for that support.
Excellent, Howard. There's a few things, if you as you've dug deeper, that come to my mind, and I want to kind of play them back and see what your thoughts are. One is, definitively, these leaders have had their own journey. So it's not
Yes,
merely the destination, but truly a journey you that has unfolded. Two, they challenge themselves. I mean, I think you expressed it
yes,
very eloquently. You know, and great leaders, if they don't challenge themselves, then what's happening? Are they truly aware? Are they truly growing, if you will? Um, I've got a few more points. I want to put them out there and kind of see how you respond to some of these. They focus on others. That very vividly, as you described some of these human beings, they focus on other people. They challenge
yes,
themselves, but truly focus on others. They also step out and take risks and challenge the
yes,
stereotypes. So definitive, as I like to reflect on, if you're not taking risks, measured, not risks that can jeopardize the whole or what have you, but truly measured, uh, intentional risks, you're truly not manifesting a degree of leadership. And one more point that really grabbed me as your description, they didn't hesitate, respectfully, and I put hesitate, they probably did, my word, they probably didn't hesitate ultimately to reach out for support on that journey.
right. The things that you emphasized are very important, and are keys to both, of course, with men and women, but especially with these women, with their success, that they had to step out of their comfort zones. In every instance, many times I've heard people questioning, whether they were, um, doing the right thing, and many times, it's not always easy to take those. You talk about the risks. That risk to be successful in business, risk taking is part of it. I once saw someone on TV who, they asked him how he was a successful businessman. His answer was, "I failed 3 times." Um, and my old manager, from AT&T, who rose to such a high level at Kaiser Permanente, she said very recently upon her retirement that, she looked back on her career and she said, um, uh, "Do I have regrets? No. Would I do things differently? Perhaps." We make decisions, we don't regret them. But
Mhm.
but with hindsight, we look back. Could we have done things differently? Of course. But I think the key is that, and I'll repeat something she said on her retirement. She said, "Learn, earn, give back, return, and retire." So,
Yeah,
I like the fact that she talked about returning. That we learn, we grow, and these women grew and learned, and they earned. They, of course, with their increase in their positions and managerial positions, earned more respect and earned more, compensation because of their expertise. And I like the fact that she brought in return. That very successful people like to share. I find they like to be mentors, and of course, I like the fact that she said retire, because it does show that there's a time for ourselves that we say, we've worked very hard, and while we can continue to work, but there's sometimes a important aspect of a career to say it's time to retire and enjoy life a little bit more.
definitely. And there's great wisdom in giving back, and then also recognizing, and a humbleness, if you will, to say, I have given back and I can retire. If you were
Yes,
letting go of, respectfully, the ego in balance, and saying, I've done my doing.
correct, correct.
So, so my good friend, I know you're quite the storyteller. I'll put it that way.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Is there a particular story across the spectrum that stands out in your mind as something you'd like to share, Howard?
I think the most important thing is when I look back on people that have risen in management, especially women and men, and we talked about it before, is that work life balance.
Mhm.
Many of these women, if not all of them, they do open themselves, to their staff. They feel it's important to have that type of, outside of the office opportunity for people to discuss and bond and grow. And all the women that I know who have, been in these positions do that. They allow opportunities for people to come and talk to them on outside of the normal work situation. I know with COVID it's more difficult, but in every case they reach out to people and get ideas and share ideas. And many times, that that involves, stepping outside of your role that you're doing at your job, and having that opportunity to, share ideas, in a more informal manner.
Very well said. Very well said. And Howard, I want to respect your time and what have you, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask, guidance for all of us to help each other become better leaders,
Yeah.
males and females.
Well,
Anything you'd like to
I
share?
I I like to read, and I myself look for role models and people who have, risen to, either prominent in roles in society or in business. And recently, I read a book where Gandhi had said, "Be the change that you want to see in the world." And I think we're in a society today where I look at the people going to law school and people going to medical school, for example, and the numbers now are actually showing more women in these non which previously had been non-traditional women in those fields. There are now many more women and than men going into these professions. And I'll tell you, you talked about storytelling. My daughter was a freshman at George Washington University, the Elliott School, International
Yeah.
Affairs in D.C. She had the opportunity to meet Justice Ginsburg, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And she met with about 50 college students. My daughter was one of them. And my daughter told an interesting story. She still laughs about it to this day. That Justice Ginsburg had a man carrying her purse, an aide walking around with her. And she said, Dad, Justice Ginsburg had a man holding her purse. She goes, doesn't that show how far women have come today? Not that it should be a man carrying a purse, but it just shows how when Justice Ginsburg started out in her career, she actually taught at Rutgers Law School. Um, that was the only job she could get
Mhm.
because the law firms that she was qualified for weren't ready to hire a woman, and she ended up going into teaching, and she rose to obviously such high levels in the legal profession. But I just always thought that story
Yeah.
was funny that my daughter repeated.
Definitely. Thank you, Howard, for sharing that. And it really goes to show how much the world benefits when we express that degree of humanity,
Yes,
independent of gender, but just express the humanity. And I mean, very openly, I've carried my daughter's purse on many occasions
exactly.
because and so very much so.
Exactly. Which I'm saying is the genders become less important,
Yeah. Yeah.
and people are comfortable, male nurses and people who aides to women managers, etc. Does
Yeah.
not always have to be the traditional stereotypes. And I think when we rethink women in leadership, we see that today, that the traditional stereotypes have not all of them, but to some, thankfully to a degree, are not there and allowing people of all genders to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the more we transcend respect, we appreciate, we acknowledge, we integrate, if you will, we leverage our uniqueness, all of us as individuals, but the more we transcend those uniqueness and in that integration, the more impact, the more we transcend and the more we embrace our humanity, the more impact we can have in the world, a positive
Right,
impact.
right, correct.
Excellent, excellent. My good friend, I want to respect your time. Any sort
Thank
of
you.
parting thoughts at all? Anything to share before we sign off, my friend?
No, I just so thankful that you gave me the opportunity to speak with you and this conference. It sounds very exciting, and the fact that I have a daughter and my wife who are my wife's a professional. It's very empowering to hear that these conversations are happening, and I'm very excited about it, and look forward to listening in if I can and participating again if necessary.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Howard, for making the time.
Thank you, Sai.
A pleasure indeed. And by all means, we look forward to folks joining us on the 13th. More great conversations with some incredible human beings like Howard, amongst others. So thank you
Thank
all
you.
so much. Thank you, Howard.